Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about electrochemistry, more specifically electrolytic cells. So the definition of electrolysis, you've probably done this before in Chem 3 where you did the lab where you separated water into H2 and O2. So that used outside electricity in order to split up that compound. So electrolysis is the use of electricity to bring about chemical change. So this directly applies to electrolytic cells. So electrolytic cells are not spontaneous, therefore the delta G is positive, so it requires outside electricity. So just like in galvanic cells, the cation is still reduced and the anion is still oxidized, but the signs of them change. So here's a little diagram of an electrolytic cell. So as you can see, it looks a little different because it's happening in one container, and we can see that it's in a CuSO4 solution. So a lot of electrolytic cells use inert electrodes where they're the same compound. So I'll talk about that in the next slide. So the electron flow is still from the anode to the cathode. So the difference between galvanic and electrolytic cells. So electrolytic cells are usually used to separate ores or plate out metals. So you'll see that in a lot of FRQs or multiple choice. So number one is that the voltaic cells are spontaneous and electrolytic cells are not spontaneous, so they're forced to occur by using an electron pump or battery. So a voltaic cell is separated into two half cells to generate electricity, and an electrolytic cell occurs in a single container. A voltaic cell is a battery, but an electrolytic cell needs a battery to operate. And in electrolytic cells, I talked about this in the last video if you watched it on galvanic cells, but the cathode in this case is negative and the anode is positive. But you do not need to identify signs in the AP test. So if you want to know it in order to understand the concept further, you can memorize that, but you don't need to know that or identify which one is positive and which one is negative, because that can get a little bit confusing. And like I said in the last slide, electrolytic cells usually use inert electrodes that aren't part of the chemical process. So I hope this helped on electrolytic cells. Thanks for watching.